What's up, friends? Dominaria United is here. I'm not at all surprised that the Phyrexians are here to complete the denizens of Dominaria, as we did actually get the Phyrexian creature type update not too long ago. And with this new iteration of our beloved plane of Dominaria, we have yet again another batch of cards ready to make their way into commander decks. And since it's been a very long time since the last time I did one of these, let's take a quick look at the 5 of the best cards from this set for the commander format. Just as a quick note, my list will only be looking at Dominaria United as the standalone set and not the commander set that's affiliated with it. I'm also not going to be talking about cards in terms of their viability as commanders, but instead we're looking for things that'll be good in the 99. We do have an honorable mention in the form of Academy Loremaster. This is a 2-drop human wizard that gives each player a choice. They can draw 1 additional card during their draw step, and if they choose to do so, spells they cast this turn will cost 2 additional mana. This is a pretty interesting interaction and a stipulation. It's a 2-drop, so it comes out nice and early in games, but then it presents a conundrum. You get the value out of the card you draw, but it'll substantially throw off your tempo for the rest of the turn. I feel most players will choose to not take the additional card unless they're either so far behind that the mana increase is a non-issue, or they're able to go mana positive this turn and make up for that extra mana you need to pay. Starting off our list at number 5 is something I think might actually find a home in my Yeva deck. Silverback Elder is a 5/7 for 5 mana. Whenever you cast a creature spell, you choose one of the 3 following modes. You can destroy a target artifact or enchantment. You can look at the top 5 cards of your library, put a land from among them onto the battlefield tapped, the rest go to the bottom randomly, and you can gain 4 life. So one of the things about the Yeva deck is that it's a creature combo deck, with a few ways to recast and bounce our creatures and having infinite creature spell casts. This is going to prove very useful for the Silverback Elder. The reason I have it at number 5 is because I'm not 100% sure this will find a home in that deck, but I do think that it'll hold enough value in zoo decks in general, especially mono green decks, to warrant its inclusion on this list. At number 4 is Plaza of Heroes. This is a land with 4 abilities, 3 of which are mana abilities. It can tap for a colorless mana, it can tap for a mana of any color, but that mana is restricted to casting legendary spells only. It can tap for a mana of any color among legendary permanents you control. And lastly, for 3 mana, tapping and exiling the Plaza of Heroes, target legendary creature gains hexproof and indestructible. This is literally any commander deck's dream come true. Decks that rely on the commander will relish in this, as it literally has the lines to get out your commander, at which point this becomes a sort of Mox Amber on a land, and in a pinch it can become a 1 creature heroic intervention. At number 3, we're breaking our rule here. We have not 1 inclusion, but 5. It's the Defiler cycle. We have Defiler of Faith, Defiler of Dreams, Defiler of Flesh, Defiler of Instinct, and Defiler of Vigor. These 5 creatures have a powerful ability. Each of them is a mono-colored Phyrexian creature with a keyword ability. They each have a unique ability that triggers whenever you cast a permanent of their color. Their strongest is one shared by the 5. As an additional cost to cast permanent spells of their specific color, you can pay 2 life for each colored mana pip to reduce that cost. You are only able to reduce the colored mana of those spells, but this is such a powerful ability. As we've seen before in Kurik, that Phyrexian mana is potent, and these creatures are basically emulating that ramp. My only gripe is that with some of these cards, namely the White Defiler, they're a little high on the curve. They'll save you mana in the long run, but the initial investment might not be worth it if you can't get up to that mana quick enough. At number 2, we have Sheoldred the Apocalypse. This 4-mana Phyrexian Praetor has Death Touch and 2 triggered abilities. Whenever you draw a card, you gain 2 life. Whenever your opponent draws a card, they lose 2 life. These are a powerful pair of abilities, and there are decks that are going to capitalize on punishing opponents for drawing cards. Decks like Nekusar the Mindrazor increase the number of cards your opponents draw, and then inflict damage on them for each card that they draw. This can also act as a standalone commander, but I really think it's going to make its best home as part of the 99. She is aggressively costed, and being a 4/5 with Death Touch means that she will easily enter combat as a threat and trade with most enemies. Finally, at number 1 is Braid's Arisen Nightmare. The original Braids was such a powerhouse commander and stacks piece she was placed on the commander ban list, Before that, she was banned as a commander, and then she just became flat out just, you can't even look at her in a deck, banned. That's quite the reputation to have, and so a new incarnation of her is already going to be on the radar for many commander players. She's a 3-drop 3/3 who has the ability at the beginning of your end step, you may sacrifice a permanent, and if you do, each opponent may sacrifice a permanent of their own that shares a card type with it. For each opponent who does not, they lose 2 life, you draw a card. This is a bit of a weird way of wording it, that it's spelling out the card types that it can go for, and the way that it's worded makes me think that Wizards is considering new permanent types, as it's a little strange that they would spell out the 5 types of permanents like this, but I digress. This is a really impressive stacks piece on its own, forcing opponents to either sacrifice their own board state or give you card draw. You could theoretically draw up to 3 cards during each of your end steps, getting 6 life throughout the whole table, and give you quite the advantage. If your opponents do decide to sacrifice their permanents to keep you off your card draw, it's going to put them on the defensive. Either way, this is definitely something you're going to want to keep an eye out for. So what cards from Dominaria United are you most excited for? I think this set's a really interesting new development to the Dominaria lore. I can't say I'm super surprised that we have the Phyrexians back in the lore again. What with Bolas and the Eldrazi currently disposed of, we needed a new baddie to deal with. Do you see a new deck look promising to make a name for itself in the format? Let's chat about it in the comments below. Anyway, I hope to see you all in the next video. Toodles!